Hey everybody, my name is Shibby. I'm an esports colorcaster and Celestial ranked player in Marvel Rivals, and Season 3.5 is releasing very soon, and with the new changes coming in, I expect the meta to shift pretty significantly. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple heroes in each of the 3 roles that I think you should be playing to start winning games and ranking up quickly as soon as the new season starts. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, so let's just get into it. The first class we're going to talk about is Vanguards, and I'm going to get the best Vanguards out of the way very quickly. Mag and Emma are still the 2 best Vanguards in the game. I think the order is probably Emma, then Mag, but I think talking about these tanks for the 20th time in a row, it's super redundant. They have not received enough nerfs in these last couple patches to knock them down a peg, nor are the meta is changing around them to make them worse picks necessarily in Marvel Rivals. I think the conversation becomes more interesting once we start realizing that pretty much Emma has been banned out in a majority of my games. Sometimes it's Magneto, but most of the time it's Emma. And then we can start talking about who is that other tank that we can pair with Magneto? Is it Groot? Is it Strange? Is it Thing? You know, all these other tanks that are in the meta or, you know, can rise within Marvel Rivals once Emma is taken away and when she can't be played in the game. So that's what we're going to go with. Mag and Emma are still the 2 best tanks in the game. Play them. If you really do care about climbing, you really do just want to play the best in slot, I recommend highly either picking these tanks still or picking them up if you, for whatever reason, don't play them. Now, the tank that I think is going to rise into, you know, the status of being paired up with Mag when Emma is banned out, I think Groot actually with these changes, plus where the meta is looking like in Season 3.5, I think he's going to look very good. The increased range is actually a much bigger buff than most people think. I mean, the ability to hit people from a longer range, also the activation range, that kind of stuff, that actually empowers him a lot more. He's also getting paired up with a new team up with Mantis and Loki, so that should bump just inherently his play numbers up. But the one thing that I think a lot of people may have forgotten or maybe don't realize is in Season 3, Thing got a lot of changes that pushed him forward into the meta. The classic Thing counter, from my knowledge and from what I know of, has always been Groot. Now, Groot is more manageable, obviously, for Thing, but it is still a pretty big counter because Thing just doesn't have a good way of getting boxed in, right? Strange can jump out. Magneto has his own bubbles and his shield to block some damage while his shield breaks. Emma also has the ability to gain beam charge off of his shields, or his walls, sorry. But realistically, Thing doesn't have a fantastic way to get out of the walls. So I think we should start seeing, you know, Groot more as we start, you know, seeing people start picking Thing again, right? They were picking him in Season 3 along with Magneto. I think a lot of people will continue to pick him up because that's just kind of how the meta works, and it takes a little bit of time for people to drop what was really good in the previous season to start picking up the new stuff. So I think you can gain a lot of wins and you can really start ranking up if you consistently start picking Groot into Thing. Now, Groot obviously still suffers from some of the same issues that he's had, right? Punisher is very good into him. Squirrel Girl, flyers like Iron Man and Human Torch, who are still going to be really good, are going to be good into Groot. But from a tank v tank matchup, or in regards to controlling the frontline war, yeah, I think Groot is going to be a lot better, especially given that he has a healing ability now with that team up with Mantis. He actually has the ability to stick kind of in the front line and in the pocket a lot more, whereas I felt like sometimes, more often than not, Groot would get shredded a lot if, you know, more teams would focus him down if he got CC'd. Like if there is like a Squirrel Girl or a Punisher just kind of abusing him and kind of aiming for his head, it did feel kind of bad to play Groot. But I think that healing ability will definitely increase his tankiness even just by a little bit, which allows him to kind of play that frontline role a little bit more and stand kind of side by side the Magneto, rather than like a little bit staggered off where Magneto's kind of playing that frontline and then Groot is looking for the wall offs. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't be trying to play that play style still, but you have more flexibility in how you want to move as Groot. Another Vanguard that I already started seeing play in Season 3 and is probably going to see a little bit more play in Season 3.5 is going to be Strange. They have been, interestingly enough, micro buffing Strange continuously since they gave him a lot of those big nerfs back in like early Season 1, if not like early Season 1.5. And honestly, he's just been getting better and better. The increase in ammo is really nice because that obviously increases his DPS uptime. Increasing his DPS uptime increases how fast his ultimate charges. So, I mean, it is a small amount, don't get me wrong, but the micro buff that Strange is getting, he could be heading into a situation that, like, you know, Captain America was at one point, where he kept getting a bunch of micro buffs, and then a lot of people realized, like, oh, he's actually like really good or in a very, you know, OP spot. I think Strange is on the same level as Groot. If I were to put them at like A tier, they would be right next to each other, whereas like Mag Emma would be S tier. I think Strange is going to be really good. The fact that his flight as well. He got a reduction in the cooldown for it, where now he can fly up more consistently. That just gives him more playmaking potential. That also gives him the ability to contest flyers more, which is really important, right? I feel like Human Torches, Iron Man, Storms, right? They just weren't that scared of a Strange when he flew up in the air, because they know, like, once he goes down, I can't really be contested for like next 15 seconds. Having that 12 seconds is really big. Also allows him to position a little bit more aggressively, get into those high ground spots. I think what a lot of Strange refuse to do, or still haven't been picking up, at least in some of the lower levels, is that you can use your levitate to get you into some very sneaky spots. So you can do a drop down Eye of Agamotto, right? You don't have to do the classic jump up in the air and then descend immediately Eye of Agamotto. Most people in like Grandmaster Celestial Plus are not going to fall for that. They're going to be calling it out. They're going to be looking for it. So if you're hiding in a pretty sneaky spot, if you're up in the buildings or something like that, if there's a lot of verticality that you can take advantage of, then I would highly recommend using your shift. I know a lot of people didn't like using it because it was such a long cooldown, but now that it's at 12 seconds, you can use it to position and reposition a lot more aggressively and get those really good Eye of Agamottos, or potentially get some really crazy burst combos going. So I think Strange is just going to rise in popularity. He's going to be a much more standard pick along with Magneto here, especially because Groot, I think, is going to rise in the meta. And a popular composition that we saw in response to Groot when Punisher got the buffs, it was like Mag, Strange, and then a solo DPS Punisher, and then they would run like 3 supports. And I think 3 supports might be very strong in this season 3.5, but we'll get to that, talking about that when we get to the strategy section of this video. Another tank I have on this list, and he's kind of like an honorable mention slash sleeper pick. I had him in my sleeper pick slash honorable mention last time, is going to be Captain America. I still think Captain America is in a very good spot. I think he actually is the best dive tank in the game. The more I climb and the more Captain Americas I face in like Grandmaster and Celestial, the more and more I'm convinced he's actually just really good. It's just no tanks are really willing to put the work in on that hero because of his animation cancels, because of all the different abilities that you can use to get in and get out. I think the damage thresholds, a lot of that stuff, he is a more complicated tank simply because of the moveset that's given to him, right? He did receive some nerfs prior to his like super OP spot, but I think Captain America is fundamentally the best dive tank in the game. And when you pair him up with something like a Psylocke, who I think is one of the best dive DPS in the game, if not the best dive DPS in the game, or just fundamental dive DPS, it's very, very hard for supports or a team to deal with a Captain America and Psylocke dive coming at you as a 1-2 punch, right? Supports definitely have to be on their A game when they're playing against that. You could also pair Captain America up with something like Black Panther or Magic or another dive hero, but I think Psylocke is kind of his best pairing in terms of hitting that 1-2 punch combination. I also think Captain America does very well and pairs up very well with Magneto, right? Can take full advantage of the bubbles. I talked about this before in my previous videos, but the fact that you can have such a mobile tank like Captain America that can beat down on your supports, that can draw attention away. His ultimate as well functions as a third support ult in my mind, so you can kind of get away with some of those cheesier support compositions, right? Something like a Mantis Loki that we might be seeing a lot of, or like a Luna and an Adam Warlock where you only have access to one quote-unquote defensive ultimate. But now if you have Captain America on your team, you can stick him there, get the snowflake on him with Luna, and he can pop his ultimate when there's a big ulti coming out, right? Like a Punisher ultimate or a Storm ultimate or anything like that. That's when you can pop that Captain America ultimate and help your team out and give them that bonus HP. As long as they know what to do, right? Following behind the trail and getting that bonus HP. So I think Captain America is very underrated, or is still a sleeper. And I don't think his current pick rate reflects actually how good he is in the current Vanguard pool and how good I think he's going to be in season 3.5. Before we get into the duel list, I just want to thank everybody for the recent support on a lot of my YouTube videos and my YouTube shorts. We are pushing for that 200 subscriber mark, and I know we're close. So if you enjoyed the video up until this point, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that jazz. You know what to do. But let's get into duel lists. We're going to move on to duel lists, and I think the first duel list I'm going to put on this list is going to be Punisher. I think with the meta that we are going to be seeing with all the different heroes that have gotten buffs or team ups and stuff like that, Punisher is going to be extremely valuable. Like I said, I anticipate Groot to be picked up more, especially with that new team up that he receives with Mantis and Loki specifically. I think there's going to be a lot of things that need to be cleared off the map and a lot of things that need to be shot, and that Punisher can deal with pretty consistently, right? We talk about Groot walls, Loki clones. I mean, Namor is still being picked up a ton, right? The squids, like there's so much in this game that needs to be shot at, and Punisher by far is one of like the best janitors, we'll call it in that sense. He also just farms heroes like Groot, like Thing, that I anticipate seeing a lot of play. He puts a lot of shield pressure onto heroes like Strange. Like Punisher by far is one of the best duelists in this game now, even with the nerfs that he received, I believe last patch prior, where they nerfed his turret form and his ultimate. I mean, his gun still has 40 bullets. His spread is still really small. He's deadly accurate, right? He does a ton of damage, right? Even if you aim for the body, even if you don't hit all your headshots, like he's still very, very good. And I know a lot of people like to bring up the fact that like Magneto kind of like counters or hard counters Punisher. It's not really a hard counter. If you have a Magneto on your team or a Doctor Strange, as long as you are, as the Punisher, are communicating when you're going to ult, they can block the Magneto ultimate, because the Magneto player on the enemy team has to throw the ball pretty quickly. He doesn't really have a lot of time to charge it. So most of the time, the Doctor Strange shield should be up, or the Magneto will have his shield or his bubble ready for you. And as long as you're bubbling or shielding that Magneto ultimate, yeah, your Punisher is just going to feast. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. The reason I think a lot of Punishers think Magneto is a hard counter is because they don't calm when they're going to ult, and they just kind of do it, and then they get slammed, and then they die, and they're like, oh, well, they're picking Magneto, I can't play anything. Yeah, I think Punisher's absolutely going to feast with stuff like Groot and things still being played, Doctor Strange, right? And obviously some of the DPS that are going to be on those lists, I think Punisher matches very well into. One of those DPS that we mentioned is Human Torch. Now, Human Torch is still very difficult, I think, for Punisher to kind of deal with. I think you definitely want like a Hela or a Phoenix, something that has a little bit more burst and has a little bit more high single target damage, you know, with their bullets. But it's not impossible. Human Torch is still going to be good in Season 3.5 in my mind. Didn't receive any significant changes around him or around the meta that should make him worse per se. Gonna do fantastic into the Vanguards, right? Groot, Thing, Strange, even to some extent. Like he really does farm away on these tanks with his cluster kind of autos, as well as he just is relatively tanky, especially if you start pairing him up again with the Invisible Woman passive that we talk about, the Fantastic Four passive. You've also got Thing ready with you, like he can jump to you to give you the damage reduction. There's a lot of different things you can do to make him a lot more annoying to deal with, right? Especially if you're running like a 3 support composition, one of those being Ultron, and you run that with a Human Torch that's on DPS. Oh yeah, good luck trying to kill this guy with Invisible Woman passive, right? To team up, and an Ultron drone, and he has the ability to slam down and gain bonus HP. He is very difficult to deal with. Human Torch has been by far one of my most banned heroes in Marvel Rivals, along with Emma, and I don't think that's going to change in Season 3.5. I still think he's going to be very good, and it only takes you letting that one Human Torch player, that Lord Human Torch player, through, watching him move in the sky. Like, these guys have some very disgusting movement, and they are very difficult to track, even for the best DPS players in the world. Another DPS that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the Vanguards is going to be Psylocke. I mentioned her power with like Psylocke and Captain America dive, but Psylocke individually is just a very good DPS. She is very hard to shut down if played correctly, and I think you don't really start to see that until I think you hit like maybe Grandmaster, Celestial Plus. She's actually very dominant in a lot of the high elo lobbies. She's one of the most picked. She's got a disgusting win rate. Even without the Emma team up that she gets, she is still very good. And a lot of people like to look at her ultimate and be like, oh, it's very easily counterable. Like, there's so many support elements that can counter her. That's not why she's strong. It's the fact that her one like burst combo, or her ability to burst a like 300 HP hero out of thin air, is very, very strong, right? A lot of these high level Psylocke players have very good aim. She's a hit scan assassin essentially, and the fact that you can dash through the return and you can like burst out you know, heroes that are out of position, right? If you're a support player that's not played up with your team, or isn't really calming that you're getting dove, if you're your DPS are taking an off angle, you better hope that the Psylocke isn't looking at you or looking for you. Her invisibility is still very good. I think Psylocke is still in a very good spot. She's just obviously a little bit harder to play when she received those nerfs a couple patches ago to like invisibility time and stuff like that. But the really good Psylocke players and the ones that put time into her, they still dominate lobbies. Like, she is disgusting. Even if you do run something like Gamma into her, she can play around Gamma. If you run Thing into her, she can play around Thing. I know a lot of people tend to ban Black Panther more, but I think a good Psylocke player is just way more valuable than a good Black Panther player, because in the end, I think Psylocke is just much more flexible as a dive DPS, pairs up with a lot of the other Vanguards and other dive characters way more easily. And I just think she can run lobbies, right? She's not ultimate reliant by any means. As long as you know how to play her and know how to cycle her abilities correctly, you can hard carry a lobby as Psylocke by yourself. A hero that I think we should see more play in Season 3.5 is the newly released Phoenix. I know she kind of, when she released onto the scene, she was kind of like mild, like a lot of people played her in the beginning, but I haven't really been seeing her a lot unless she's being paired up with Wolverine. I think that's going to change. I think the fact that You've got Loki plus Mantis being a new team up, and Mantis's ultimate providing bonus health, as well as Adam's ultimate now providing 70% bonus health. Phoenix ultimate is actually such a hard counter to both of these heroes, right? The fact that all you have to do is wait until one of these two ult and you pop your ultimate, because Phoenix ult doesn't just remove like Loki clones and Hela summon and rocket ultimate and stuff like that. It removes any bonus HP once it lands onto you. So Storm, right, when she would get bonus HP, Mantis when she gets bonus HP with her new ultimate, or like the buffs to her ultimate, Adam, right, when he reses his whole team in some corner or reses them somewhere and they all get 70% extra bonus health, you as Phoenix can pop your ultimate, and as soon as you hear that Adam ultimate, or as soon as you hear the Adam ultimate go down, you are going to be nuking everybody. All that bonus health that they're going to get is going to be instantly eliminated. So I think we should see a lot more Phoenix come into play as we see supports like Adam, like Mantis get more play because of the new changes that they've received. I'm going to put a very short section for Blade, because I think Blade is in a unique spot where, like, I can't really tell if he's going to be like insanely meta. That's kind of how it always works with these new heroes. I didn't really know what to think of Phoenix before she released. Like, I thought she was really good, but turns out she's just kind of okay. She's not like insanely good, but she's just kind of okay compared to her counterparts. I think Blade's in a very unique position where he fills out that like mid to close range DPS role very well. He, in my mind, might be the best mid to close range DPS. Like, if you've seen what people can do spacing that shotgun, they can 3-tap heroes like Luna and other supports, and they can duel very well into other duelists. I also think his ability with the anti-heal and his ultimate to burst and kill through other support ultimates, we've seen it kill through Luna, Mantis, all this stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of value in Blade when you're potentially facing off against 3 support compositions and you want to be able to cut down that healing or give them anti-heal. If you don't know like how to play Blade, or you don't know what to do, I would highly recommend going over to KPX Chris's channel. He will be the #1 Blade in Marvel Rivals when Blade drops. He already released a combo video and ability usage video. It is a really good breakdown. I think he's probably the best person to go to for Blade. So shout out KPX Chris. Has taught me a lot when I was watching him play Blade on that early access. And now we move on to the strategist. And for the first time in a while, I'm actually very excited because I think we're going to see a couple more strategists come into the pool of play. I still think Loki plus Luna are going to be very good. They still are going to be 2 of the best strategists in the game. And if you can run that combo, I would highly recommend running it. But the fact that Mantis and Loki now have a new team up along with Groot, and the Mantis becomes an anchor, right? Her healing becomes increased. She does, a little bit more ultimate healing as well with the conversion of her bonus health. I think the fact that she provides such an OP team up to Loki, increasing the size of his totems, right? And those totems also giving damage boost. Like, Mantis Loki is a team up that we should be seeing pretty consistently, at least in the first couple weeks of season 3.5. And I think it's going to be relatively strong, especially when you pair it up with that Groot. Now, I know Mantis suffers from the fact that she doesn't do a lot of like crazy amount of like, I would say like Ooga Booga healing, right? Where you just run down main and it's like, I'm going to spam heals as much as I can. I'm going to spam like Luna Clap, or I'm just going to keep healing. It's not like mindless. It's obviously a bit more over time with her healing, where she kind of puts the charge onto you. But I think the fact that we are going to see Loki and Mantis being paired up together, I think it's going to be really cool. I think both of these heroes got a really good facelift and an uplift from the changes. I don't think Loki needed it personally. Like, that's kind of crazy that Loki was the one that got it. I was hoping to maybe see something with Ultron, or maybe something with Jeff, or another support that isn't seen as frequently. But yeah, I think Mantis Loki is going to be a really cool combo, and there is potential for a 3 support composition with them. The other team up that we are getting is going to be the Adam Warlock and Luna team up, and I think those heroes as well are going to be very good. I think Luna just received a crazy buff with that new team up, where she can now soul bond to enemies, and the damage she does to them, she heals herself for a percentage of it. I think Adam's new ultimate change that came in, where he gives 70% bonus health to everybody that he revives, that's going to be really good. It's going to encourage Adams to go for more of those big game-saving reses, as well as using your res to completely, negate enemy ultimates, right? If you look at the best Adam Warlock players in the world, I would specifically always recommend watching Kurova and how he plays both in solo queue and in the competitive esports environment. that guy by far is the best Adam Warlock in the world, and the way he uses Adam Warlock ultimate is so disgusting because he just gets so much value out of it. I've talked about it before, but he will wait until the enemy commits 2 ultimates, right? DPS or support ultimates. He'll wait for his team to get wiped. He'll go somewhere, and then he'll just do a big, massive res while his team has ultimates up. He'll heal them all up, and then you just snowball your ult economy because they burn 2 ultimates for your 1, and then you can just win the fight. So it completely negates these team wipe style ultimates, whether it's a Punisher ultimate, a Psylocke ultimate, Hela, whatever, right? And I think the best Adam Warlock players need to start doing that really consistently. I don't really see a lot of them, unfortunately, even in like Grandmaster and Celestial. There's just not enough Adam Warlock players, and I hope the ones that have them, that have gotten Lord, they come out of hiding and they start playing him again, because I think he's going to be relatively good. I don't know if it's going to push him into the 2 support meta. I actually don't believe he's going to be super viable with just himself and Luna Snow. I think adding a 3 support composition with him is still going to be kind of necessary, and I think for the 3 support compositions that I'm thinking of, or that I'm kind of theory crafting, it's definitely going to be Adam, Luna plus Rocket. And this is just kind of like the ultimate res composition where like it is very hard to move you off of point, and the fact that they have to burn more resources to kind of kill you, right? With the Rocket res and then the Adam res, it is actually very annoying to play against. There was a variation of this composition that was popular for a little bit, where it was the old Guardians team up, Revival team up, where you'd run Mantis plus Adam Warlock, and then you'd run a Rocket with it, and then the Star-Lord could just never die, right? Star-Lord would get rezzed from his passive that he received with Adam Warlock, but he would also get rezzed from the BRB beacon. Like, it was really disgusting. The Star-Lord was just never actually out of the fight. And I think similar shenanigans can take effect with Adam plus Luna plus Rocket there, and you just run like a single DPS, whether that is something like the Punisher or you want to run like a Human Torch or something like that. You could also just run single tank 2 DPS in that composition, but your front line might be a little weak. Other than that, I think Cloak and Dagger nerfs are necessary. I think it's actually going to put them in line a lot more. They had received nerfs for a while, and they had received previously another nerf to their ultimate charge cost, but the fact that they received another one here in this new patch, I think is really going to kill the momentum of Cloak and Dagger players and having their ultimate up pretty consistently. Most of the time in fights, it was either a Loki or a Cloak and Dagger that would have their ultimate up first, and it was very, very difficult to play against. Even felt like sometimes if you're the Magneto player, who is kind of like the traditional counter to Cloak and Dagger, you couldn't really match 1-to-1 Magneto ultimate for Cloak and Dagger ultimate. You almost had to do it on every second Cloak and Dagger ultimate or something like that. So I love the changes. I love the nerfs that she's getting. I think it is a step in the right direction to allow more supports to breathe in the meta, because the same supports that have been good for the longest time, the holy trinity of Luna, Loki plus Invis, is finally getting broken up here, and Cloak and Dagger finally being nerfed is really nice. And the fact that like Adam Warlock and Mantis are going to come into play is going to be a good shakeup. I would highly recommend support players, if you plan on picking them up, go into aim labs or go start training your aim, because both of these heroes are very aim reliant, right? You hit scan for Adam Warlock, or even your Cosmic Cluster gives you more heal charges. And for Mantis, hitting headshots, specifically critical hits, will give you more charges to give to your teammates. So I'd highly recommend getting in the aim lab. Or if you're a DPS player that's forced to fill, play these guys. It's not a throw pick anymore. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, as that all helps me out a ton. I try and respond to every single one of the comments in my videos, because I generally do appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules to leave one, as well as I love interacting with my own community. If you want to see more of my content, I stream over on Twitch about 3 to 4 times a week, starting around 7 p.m. PST. Over there, you'll get unedited versions of my videos, as well as we go over gameplay reviews, patch notes, and you guys can ask questions in the chat, and I respond pretty quickly. If you care more for short form content, I upload daily on both YouTube Shorts and TikTok. Over there, you'll get condensed versions of my videos, as well as stream highlights and my general thoughts on the game. All of that will be in the description box below, as well as a pop-up that will show up on the right side of the screen here, telling you where to go and all my handles. I really do appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.